Hello and welcome to an instructional video on how to install game files to the MiSTer FPGA system. I'll just go over that. I'll do that for this example. I'll do some Commodore 64 games, but then I'll show you, where the other files and folders are and such like that. But I think this will be a good way to have uh, one that shows you how to put the files on, and then I'll have individual ones that deal with the intricacies of each system as we go through it. I think that'll be the best way to do it. So that's how I'm doing it. Now, to get files onto your MiSTer system, there are basically two main ways of doing it. You can you can put the SD card in your computer, take it out of your MiSTer, put it in your computer, and copy the files directly that way, and then take it out, eject it, take it out of your computer, put it in your MiSTer, and load up the files. Now, that's a little bit cumbersome and not too convenient because you got to shut down the MiSTer and all that sort of stuff. The other way you can do it is if you have your MiSTer connected up to your LAN, your local area network, you can just copy the files directly to the MiSTer, pretty much drag and drop. It's much easier way to do it. There are a few different ways to do that. The way I actually do it myself typically is I have a setup on my phone and I connect through SFTP, and I have a network accessible storage, and I just copy the stuff from network accessible storage over to the MiSTer. You can do that on the PC. You can do that, several different ways. I'm going to show you how to do it though, not on the phone, but on the PC. What I'm going to use for this demonstration is WinSCP. You can use any of several programs. There's FileZilla, which also works on Mac and Linux, as my understanding is, and you can also use programs like MOBA Xterm, Secure CRT, and PuTTY. Those also do uh, SFTP stuff, which will work. But the settings are basically the same as all that, and so I'll just show you like how you connect to it, and then you'll have to figure out where to put it in, in your own program. However you set that up, you can look at the instructions for that program specifically. But once you get this set up, it's a really easy way to just copy files in, and then you can go right from there while it's still on, and the file's copied over, and boom, you got it. So it's very nice, quick way, and it's ready to go quickly. All right, so with WinSCP, let's start that up. Here's WinSCP, and it wants me to connect to the MiSTer, and here is the host name address. I will have to switch over and just show you where that IP address is on the MiSTer, where it shows you where the IP address is. I'll do that at the end. So here's your host name. That's the IP address. That's going to vary. It's going to be different depending on your network. It usually sticks to the same. I found with my system, it usually sticks to the same IP address. Occasionally, it does change if you do an update all, and then it has to do a system reboot. Um, like a system update that updates the OS on it. Then the IP will change, and then the next time it reboots, it'll come back to the same IP it was on before. Usually, that's the way it works with the DHCP in my router. It seems to be pretty consistent that way. That's just going to vary on your system. If you know how to set up like a static IP for it or something like that, go right ahead. You can configure it that way. I just have it configured DHCP. It's simple enough for me, and all I do have to do is occasionally I have to change the IP to like 106, and then I change it back. Not that big of a deal for me. So this is SFTP. This is how you do the setup. Um, and here's where that it looks like. The username is root, and the password is just the number 1. That's it. That's the default password. You can change that if you know to change it. Obviously, you got to use whatever you change it to. The instructions for that are, you can find them, I believe, on the MiSTer wiki, and so forth. Okay, port number 22. This is the default stuff for SFTP, all that. Here's the advanced where you can set the directories. So this is the remote directory, which actually is going to C64 images. You might, that's interesting. That didn't save it. That just went to what I went to last, I guess. So what you want to do is media fat games. This is C64 images. That's just where I went. I'll show you that. And actually what I can do is I can just change it to games and then MiSTer files, and I'll just go MiSTer files. Okay. Save. Login. And then it'll change these directories to those ones I just specified. So here is media fat games. I'll just show you the directory structure here in case you have a different one and it doesn't give you that path. This is from the wait, go up one. This is from the root, and everything you're going to want to, you don't want to touch any of this stuff here. That's like the Linux OS that it runs. So you just want media fat, and all the stuff you're going to want to mess with is going to be in here or down below. Here's your main MiSTer, the MiSTer main, which runs everything, and then you have your individual cores. Here's the menu. There's the downloader script, which is part of which part of the update all uses. It's not. It's part of the config for it. It's not the update all script itself. Not sure what that is that came with. There's an example INI file. You can make an INI if you need to change some of the settings in there. That's one of those setting files you would want to change that I mentioned in the previous video. So we have consoles. These are all the cores for the consoles. And these are all the cores for the computers. You don't normally want to mess with those unless you're downloading one that's not in the repository, the main repository for MiSTer. Um, I'm going to show that in a different video for ones that are, if you're getting an update or something that's still beta and it's not in the update all script yet. That's where you'd want to put it. These are some various utilities that are in here. Those are you'll see those scripts in there. These are the ones that come with. I believe you can just play those. And the console ones go here. And here's all the arcade stuff too. But I would not mess with the arcade stuff. That's kind of complicated, and you can mess some stuff up. There's some config things here, which I haven't really messed with, but that's where it saves like the config for the inputs and all that. This is docs. There actually is documentation for each one of these. Some of them are good, and some of them are not very informational, but they're all in here. There's the readmes. You can actually view those from within the MiSTer system, so I will go over that a little bit. But that's where you want to go. That's one place you want to go if you have any questions about. Actually, I'm going to pull this up. See, here's the README, and this shows it, and it looks a little different when you depending on what you load it up in. But this tells you how to do adapters. They'll give you different information, keyboard shortcuts. So there's not a lot on this, but it's a console, so it's not too complicated. If you have computers and stuff, so that's where you want to go. You can just read it right off the card, like I just did there, or you can read it within the MiSTer. Those will help. You could print this out or something if you wanted to, have a physical printout there, so you could have it while you're, playing on the MiSTer or however you're doing it. You can look online. Another thing to note is there's a computer cheat sheet which gives you the basic information of how to load a computer system, how to load games on it. You can find that in the MiSTer FPGA forum, and posted by the user Owl Anonymous. He put in a really good little cheat sheet to help you just load games. It doesn't give you like details on like if you're trying to do like programming or use special keys and stuff like that. It's not in depth that way. It's just it's sort of like a quick start guide really. But I highly recommend it. So those are our files. So what we're going to do is for games, let's see, I'm in, that was docs. There's filters, various filters you can do to do screen effects and things like that. That's, to your taste, so you research that. I'm not gonna really go through those too much. So presets, here's where the scripts are, and I think, is it up here? No, there was a folder. I guess I had to create it. I have this on my existing one that I use, actively. Um, I have the I put another folder here that was for unstable for when I'm putting in the unstable ones. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add that. Let's see, new directory. Again, this may be slightly different based on what sort of SFTP program you're using, but it's basically going to be the same. It just might look a little different. So I'm going to do underscore unstable. This is where we put unstable cores that aren't, either they aren't finished yet or not, quote unquote, officially in the repository. Um, you could put them there if you want instead of putting them in the main spot, or if you're testing out beta cores or something like that. You don't have to put them here if they're, but I like to put ones that aren't like in update all yet. I usually like to put them here, especially if they're newer cores. Now there are cores in update all that aren't finished yet, so it's not like it's necessarily any sort of mark that it's done. They're still being worked on even if they're in update all. It just depends on the developers and what if they want to include it or not. So you know you should not feel afraid to try some unstable cores out if you have information and you can know where to get them and that sort of stuff. I can maybe show you some later, but I'll do those individually, specifically which ones, and that because that information goes out of date really quickly too. All right, so that's that. So unstable, I'm just going to create that, and then I'll go into unstable, I think, and then you can put stuff in there. So I'll create that, and we're going to put some Commodore 64 games in here. So where we go with for that is under games. Everything goes under games. All the systems, computer or um, console, computer or console, they all go in here, and various ones depending on what system it is. So some of these systems I don't even know what they are. Some of them I do. And you put stuff in, and I'm gonna go probably through some of the computer ones like the X68000, definitely the ZX Spectrum, maybe not the ZX81, maybe the ZX Next. Um, a few of those. I will go through and show you how to do them and show you what they do and how you get stuff started up. So let's get to the C64. And I created this file in here, this or this directory in here called images, because all this was already in here, and these are just some. These are like empty disk images you can mess around with, and then there's a couple of like DOS ROMs. There's Dolphin DOS and Speed DOS. Um, I don't know what all these things are, and there's these things and in there. So I just wanted to put like here's where all my games are or images. Now I just call them images because they're different kinds of images. They're not all games necessarily. You could have I mean productivity software. It's probably just fun to mess around with because it's old. You probably wouldn't use it for actual like spreadsheets and stuff, but pretty much you want the games. But if you wanted to, you'd put it in there. Or they have these. I think it's PRG called. I think it's called PRG, which are like music files. They're kind of like demo scene type stuff. So those aren't games either. So that would go. You could put that in a separate file or whatever. So calling it games, that's why I just called it images. All right. So I have this folder here where I stuck some MiSTer stuff. Right now I just have Commodore 64 one. I don't have any other ones yet available. All right. So I'm going to put some of these in. I'm going to put this one through this one in here. And I may not go through all these games. Well, that'll be a different video anyway. I'll put them in here. Oh, did I put them up here? I did. Oops. Well, well. See, that's why I didn't want to do that because of this. I meant to put them in here in images. There we go. Yeah, that looks right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 0, 7. Okay. That matches. All right, so we put it there correctly now into the correct directory that we want. I mean, it's not like they can't go up there. I just wanted to do this to keep it clean and organized. You use your own organization setup as needed. And that's it. The files are there, and that's how you copy files over. If it were, if you were doing a different thing, like if you had Atari 2600 games, you put them in, the Atari 2600 folder. You just put them in the appropriate folder for whatever system you have. You can look online to double check which one is what. Like Mega Drive is for Mega Drive / Genesis games. Mega CD is for the CD games. It has its own directory. Sometimes they have their own directories for it. Things like that. But you'd have to look up on a system by system basis for that. That's pretty much it. That's all we need for this. I am gonna come pause the video for a second, and so pause the recording, and then come up with the MiSTer setup and show you what it looks like on the MiSTer side once you've got the games in, and then I'll do a separate video for actually how to like run the Commodore 64 stuff. Okay. Okay, and we're back with the MiSTer started up. All set to show a few things off here. Now this is the default. This isn't the default wallpaper. It's one of the default wallpapers, but I selected it with F1. So if you want to change the wallpaper, you can hit F1 to cycle through them. I'll just do that quickly here. There's a black screen. There's a snowy screen. And this is the one that I installed, which is menu.png. So if you just have a PNG file and you call it menu.png and you put it under um, media fat in the top where the MiSTer INI file is, and the MiSTer the main MiSTer thing is, and the downloader and all that stuff, you can put it there. There are some scripts you can install or some things you can install where it'll change wallpaper every time you come up, and then you have a folder of wallpapers and things like that, and it'll pick a random one out of there every so often, and then I can go through and cycle through the rest of them like this. So I'm going to go back to that one, but that just shows you how you can install your own wallpaper if you want to. But I'll just use this one for the demo purposes. Okay, so we're here, and I have this 8BitDo Pro 2 controller that I'm using. So it has a Nintendo style, ABXY on it, just so that you know when I'm I'm pressing B, you can maybe figure out which button I'm pressing. It's the one on the bottom of the four. You got top, bottom, left, and right. So B is on the bottom with that. So to get out here, I go B, and then I hit left because see I'm on exit there. See, I'm on exit, and then I hit left, and then that shows the IP address. So this is where you get the IP address. So if it ever happens you can't get to it or whatever, check this screen and see if the IP address has changed. Uh, that's really it for that. And then let's see, it's the help stuff in here. So I'm gonna hit A for the help stuff. And this is that directory I was showing you a little earlier where all the help files are. And we're gonna go down to Commodore 64 directory. Here's the README, and it comes into this, and it's kind of nicely drawn out. There's a little drawing of it. If you go to the wiki where the MiSTer wiki is, that it has a little bit more information. Well, the wiki that's built into like I think it's built into the GitHub download of the files, which is not exactly how we did it in the other video, but this shows you features and stuff, and there's one for each one, and some of them are a little more in depth, and some of them, are a little less in depth, but this gives you instructions. And then the main part of these is you want to look for the best part of these is it shows what are like special keys, and where things are moved and stuff like that. So like, alt, it looks like alt tab gets you the C key, or holding alt and tab gets you the C key, or not the C key, the Commodore symbol key, which is often referred to as the chicken lips. That key, you have to press F10. F9 is for the arrow up key, uh, things like that. Tape, play, pause. There are other ways to get to it. There's an image, so if you go to there, you can get that key map. See, that's the GitHub I was telling you about, where the information is. You can get the image key map to see what keys map to what, because these old computer systems didn't have standardized keyboards like we have today. So they have different things, and lots of the keys that we have weren't even on, those keyboards. But they had other ones that we don't have, like the Commodore symbol key, or an Apple II has that, the open apple and the close apple, and some of them have other, like there's a, run stop and break space and things like that. So yeah, and then there's further instructions. So always view these for instructions, because there's a lot of good information here. If you go to the web, you can actually see, the images in this. So that will help you even more so than just looking at it here on the MiSTer. But you can look it on the MiSTer as a shortcut, or you can print it out, or you can go to the wiki page, where it'll show the image in line, and you can print that out with the images if you prefer printing. I forget if I mentioned this, but there's a cheat sheet on the MiSTer FPGA that was posted by Owl Anonymous, and it's called Computer Cheat Sheet, and it's basically just a quick start guide for how to get up and running with various different computer systems that he's done, and he's kept that up to date pretty much too. So that's another resource. I highly recommend that post. So I'm just gonna hit that. That's B button. That should get me out of here. Maybe I have to hit there. Okay. Whoa. I think I had something held down. Sorry about that. So yeah. So that's that. So we go back here. Notice I have this new directory that it wasn't here before. If you look at the previous video, you'll see that this unstable wasn't here before. Now I don't have anything in here, but that's where I'd put ones where I'm just trying to test them out when they're brand new cores or something like that, or when I don't know if it's integrated yet, or if it's not in. Um, we could put one in other, or you can make whatever, you call it whatever you want, just ones that aren't in the main distribution, because some of them just come through different channels. So that way you can have other ones, and you just copy them into that folder, and that's pretty much it. There was with the instructions that I showed you how to get to the IP address. Here's where the various consoles are. This is where you actually run them from. And there will be, you go in here for the computers, so the Commodore 64 stuff, and the various arcade ones. That's just where you run the arcade games from. I will go into this just to show you that the files are there. So this will start up the Commodore 64 system. Yep, already. And then there's what you want to hit, the button you want to hit to get into the menu once you started this is usually it's going to be whatever the button that's equivalent to, like the Xbox button, or the PS button on the PlayStation controllers. That actually that's the one. I think if you have a snack setup, you can't use that button. You may be able to do through a key combination. I can't remember. Um, Also, it's good to have a keyboard plugged in, especially when you're doing computers, because they had a keyboard, so you need something that's similar to it. It's obviously it's a different keyboard. It's not the same kind of original Commodore keyboard, unless you have one somehow that you've hooked up. But that's that, and I think it was F11. No, exit. Wait, let's just see. Was it F10? No, F12. F12 brings the menu up there. So there you go for that. See, can I delete that? Yeah, I can. So F12, or the special button to bring it up. And I'm just going to show you, here's where those images are that I put there, right there. Now normally, and I'll go up a directory so you can see, Now this is under games where all they are, and this should be all the systems, not just computers. You see, because there's consoles and things like that, and you can bring up the program, the things. Now, obviously, if you go into something else, you're not going to be able to load it because it's not compatible. So that's why you store it in, there, and that's where it's going to look for stuff. I'm not going to actually load any of these up right now because that'll be a separate video specifically on the Commodore 64. I don't think I need to do that to show you that. And that's how you put the games on. I don't think there's anything more special than that. I'll go through each system that, you know, as time permits. I'll go through different systems. I'll do Commodore 64 first. I'll probably do um, Neo Geo next, something like that. But I'll do, X68000. I'll do uh, ZX Spectrum, bunch of stuff. But for now, that's it for this video. I hope this was helpful for you, and maybe you can come back and watch one of my other videos. Take care.